Okay, so I have some really bad news. Well, of course, it's bad news in a way. Of course, I actually crashed my Volvo XC90 big time. Uh, yeah, just kidding you. I didn't crash my XC90. Um, but something is still bad news. For the past couple of years, I've been noticing some trouble with that car because it's been taking more fuel on a shorter distance, and it seemed to be more powerless. So there seems to be lower turbo boost, and that's not a good sign. So I've been doing some researching, and now I know what's wrong. Of course, I can drive the car, that's not a problem, but it doesn't really, it feels kind of, you know, powerless, yeah, not so much turbo boost and all that kind of stuff. So problem number one is actually something that I kind of knew about, but I didn't really think it had an as a big issue that it has on my car. So um, there is actually the intercooler, the turbo intercooler is actually broken. So I need to buy a new intercooler. Um, if I'm looking at the very bottom of the intercooler, I can see that it's totally packed with oil. So that's a sign of there's always a little bit of oil in the intake system, you know, kind of like in the hoses and all that kind of stuff in every car. So with a turbo, that is. So when this starts to leak out, the first time is to check the intercooler, because intercooler is actually, it can be broken on a lot of cars that has a decent amount of mileage on there on the speedometer. So actually my XC90, the intercooler is totally jammed with oil at the very bottom on the intercooler there. So, and if I'm looking very carefully, I can actually see small, tiny holes, kind of like on the, there is kind of like bars like this, and there is some, you know, the cooler cross members going like this on the bars where the air is supposed to go through. I can see small holes there at the very bottom of the intercooler. So that's the problem. That's the problem about the fuel economy and all that kind of stuff, and that is very powerless and that kind of stuff. So I will replace the intercooler, and I will replace the hoses. I will try to replace all the hoses for the air, so to speak. I think there is two, one, two. I think there is three, four. I think there's four hoses. So I wish I would replace these hoses as well. Something else that is kind of like maybe not emergency, but I think I will do it as well, just right now when I'm changing the replacing the intercooler. that's the turbocharger. It's been running now. The car has been running for 410,000 kilometers, and that's quite a lot. So, and the turbo charger has never been replaced, I believe, because if I take the hoses away, I can kind of like put my fingers in the turbo. Well, not when the car is running though, but can and you know, feeling the there should be kind of like you know, the ball bearings should actually be just a tiny little bit moving like this. But my turbo is fortunately very, it's kind of like a little bit more loose than a good turbocharger. So it's just about time to replace the turbo. And I also noticed that it's kind of like a little bit too much oil in the intercooler and in the air compartment, so to speak, for the engine. So I think it's pretty much about time now to change the turbos, to replace the turbos as well, before the turbo will break down on me, and that will be very nasty, because the turbo will put out oil to the intercooler, massive amounts of oil, and through the intercooler into the intake of the engine and in the engine, and that will cause major problems. And that could probably cause as well that I need to replace the engine if I have very bad luck with that. So I would like to avoid that kind of problems actually. So intercooler, turbocharger, and the hoses and everything around the, well, there is, well, the gaskets and all that kind of stuff for the turbo. So that's what I will actually do in a very short period of time here, and I'm very sure that the car will be kind of like, well, not new maybe, but there will be a massive difference in performance and all that kind of stuff. So that's what I'm looking for to do very in a very short period of time here. So yeah, that's what's going on, and yeah, so that needs to be done, and I'm not really sure when, but I think as soon as possible. I think I will do some searching for. I have some contacts. I will get some new parts, of course. I will get some cheap parts, I think, but still the original parts, Garrett Turbo and the original intercooler for Volvo. I will not use any third party, you know, parts or anything like that. I will go with the original parts. So yeah, that's what it is. And until next time, take care now. Bye bye then.